Welcome to week three's question and answers for Political Science 1005. I'm going to try breaking up this video into two more manageable chunks, one focusing on the logistical side of the class and the other more on substance and substantive questions raised by this week's readings and lecture. So let's get started with the logistical side of things. The most common questions related to the midterm, the layout, and the date. The date is officially going to be posted on Friday, March 10th at 7 p.m. Actually just looked and it has been released already, so by the time you watch this it will be definitely available. The midterm is scheduled for 3:30 p.m. on Monday, the 27th of March. It is broken up into 5 different rooms according to your surname. So take a look at exams.anu.edu.au to be able to find the timetable for this midterm and any other midterms that you might have. So the date is Monday, half an hour after lecture in week 6 at 3:30 p.m. We will still be having lectures during week 6 and we still will be having tutorials. The goal of the midterm is to just give you a bit of feedback about your knowledge of the substance of the class up to and including week 6's material. It's not going to try to trick you. It should take roughly about an hour, a little longer, though you have 90 minutes if you need to take it. And more details about the substance of what is going on in the midterm will be available during week 4. Jessica and I will be posting additional information on Waddle, as well as I can create another video to go into more in depth and also be discussing in the lecture about the different sections of the midterms, how many questions, and what material is going to be covered in the midterm. So more to come in week 4 about the midterm, but we do have the date already. Monday, a half an hour after Monday's lecture at 3:30 p.m. on the 27th in 5 different rooms depending on your surname. The second question is, what happens when there is a holiday on the day we're scheduled to have a tutorial or a lecture? I received a couple of similar questions focusing on the tutorial or lecture. The short answer is that we don't have a lecture or a tutorial. There isn't going to be a makeup for either one. So on Monday in week 4, we have a holiday, and so we don't have a Monday lecture. We will have a Wednesday lecture. If you normally attend the Monday lecture, please either attend the Wednesday lecture if there's space, or watch the video of Wednesday's lecture on Echo 360 in Waddle. For the tutorial, any material that would normally be covered during that week for the simulation or for the substance material will be made up in the week afterwards. We have plans for the specific simulation presentations for those who have a Tuesday tutorial for the one weekday holiday that we have that is not Monday, so during tutorials, and your tutor will have more details about that before that week. So there shouldn't be any surprises about if you have an assignment that would be normally due that week, the role profiles, you'll be giving it the week after. The next question is asking whether you should do the readings before tutorial or lectures. I've addressed this a couple of times before, but the reading should always come first, and the goal is to have the reading done before you attend a lecture or a tutorial. Ideally, you would do the reading, go to lecture, and then go to tutorial. So the reading, you can try to get familiar with the material on your own time. You don't feel rushed, and you can cover the concepts and to go over things if you have any questions. The lecture is a way to kind of build on some of the groundwork that have been laid in the readings, but then go on and apply to different case studies or to cover anything that I think the reading didn't cover adequately. And then the tutorial is a place to really engage with other students and with your tutor with the ideas covered in the reading and the tutorial, and to be able to have an interactive discussion related to it. So I would say definitely before the lecture and the tutorial, and they are meant to build on each other. The next question asks about the list of suggested readings that I included in the course guide. They're in the original course guide as well as in the revised, and they are not suggested that you read them. They're just available for future reading if you have interest in a particular topic. I've taught this and other topics for a while, and I get some really great questions from students who might be interested in the specific issues and wanting to take additional classes in these issues or do a research paper for a class that I'm teaching or for another class. And so this is my way to have a ready-made list of further readings in addition to the readings that are at the end of each chapter in the textbook to provide you a resource, whether in this semester or go back to the course guide in later semesters, to be able to have what I think are useful resources about any specific topic. So there isn't an expectation that you read them, you won't be tested on them, but they're there if you are interested in a particular topic or if you want to go into more depth about a topic for this class or for another class. The next question focuses on the mark being based on testing rather than having the simulation worth more. The norm is definitely to have most of assessment due to direct testing of your knowledge of a material, either through research papers or through exams. So the midterm and the final exam are meant to be those periods in which you do have a specific amount of material that you know you need to cover, and that we really can gauge the extent to which you've covered the material in an in-depth and systematic and thoughtful fashion. The simulation is meant to be an opportunity to get you to apply some of the ideas, but first and foremost comes the focus on making sure that you understand the main themes, ideas, and concepts in international relations that are going to be necessary to move on and take classes later on. The simulation does count for a big part of the participation mark for your tutorials, as well as for the response paper. So that is incorporated into multiple forms of the assessment. But the quizzes are open book, so you can take your time. There shouldn't be any stress in being able to complete those. Unfortunately, the reality of teaching a class of this size is that you do have to have exams in person, and that's why we have both the midterm and the final exam. We didn't have a midterm in earlier years, and there were some questions about not having enough assessment early enough in the semester, so that students really felt even more pressure towards the end of the semester, that they still had a lot of the grade that was uncertain, and they felt stressed about that. So through the regular quizzes, through the regular participation in the simulation and the tutorials, and having the midterm, by teaching break, you should have a significant percentage of your grade already banked and have a good idea about how you're doing in the course. So that's why we designed it the way that we did. That is it for the last one is related to the role profiles. What do the role profiles really consist of? What information should be in the assessment? This is a good question, and it's one that's touched on in both the course guide and the student simulation handbook. So I would recommend you, in almost all things related to this class, I think your first resource, if you have any questions about the logistics side of this class, is to either look at the course guide or the Syrian simulation handbook, which we have on Waddle as well. On page 5 in the Syrian handbook, the row profile, we go into quite depth about when it's due and what we're asking you to do. And the two segments, the first one is what are your role's key strategic interests and objectives, and it goes into points to consider and when you're trying to make your response. And the second is actor-specific questions. So depending on whether your actor is a state, international, multilateral actor, or a non-state actor, there's different questions about the role and the interests and strategies of those particular actors. So download the student simulation handbook, take a look at the role profile description there, which goes into a bit more depth than what's in the course guide. And if there's anything incomplete, please send specific questions either via email or via the class regular forum or Q&As. That's it for the logistics. Now on to the substantive questions.